Hello, this is the voice of Stewart Pearce, and welcome to Deep Dialogues, a series of vital conversations that I have with global soul stewards from all over the world who provide us with an understanding of how we can create a new hierarchy of values that is absolutely significant at this unique time of becoming. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening. Hello, everybody out there, wherever out there may be, and also, of course, darling Ariella, who I will get to officially introducing to you all in a moment. So Robin is already here. Good evening, Robin. Wonderful. Thank you for coming along after quite a long break from the incessant showing of Deep Dialogues that takes place every Monday evening. There are some very exciting ladies who are lined up for this fall season. So welcome. And I know that the 3D world is going through hurly-burly, but I'm sure deep within the wise, magical counsel of your souls, you're all feeling absolutely wonderful. Ariella and I certainly intend to give you a wonderful evening. So listen in deeply, because you're going to be touched by this very remarkable lady sitting before us. I've known Ariella personally for about 4 years, 5 years now?
I would say, Ariella? Yeah, good 4 years, definitely.
Yeah, it's about 4 years when she invited me, very kindly invited me onto one of her many platforms. And we must talk about the recent platform that's coming up in September at the end. So welcome, Katie. Welcome, Sarah. Let me just introduce Ariella to us all. I have a very abbreviated form of an extremely intense and compact bio here. So Ariella is an Ascension Wayshower of extraordinary proportion. She is an oracle, a spiritual mentor, and she coaches neo-paradigm leaders to activate their divine gifts and divine abundance. Now, being thus means that these leaders live lives of passion, of purpose, and in full service, whilst creating magical abundance and illuminating the conviction of their spiritual and supernatural impact on the world.
We had to get the supernatural in there, right?
We have to get the supernatural in. You'll see, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, Yolanda, Raven, Carol, Stephen, Stacy, Nadina. You'll see that actually Ariella and I will suddenly become mere holograms in front of you, because the supernatural is truly present whenever she and I meet. So, I mean, this may sound like a slightly trite question, but where did it all begin?
Oh, I love that question. I will try and condense. Otherwise, we could be here for a long time. By the way, I've just found the comments, the chat, the comments here, so I can see some beautiful souls here. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Nadina, Stacy. Carol Jean Sprague is here as well. Hello, Carol. Great to see you here. Hello to everybody. And first and foremost, thank you, Stewart. I really feel as if this is a defining moment for me coming on your amazing show, Deep Dialogues, because you know that I love you. You know that I adore you. And Stewart was one of my soul stewards, literally, as I was going through my awakening journey. And perhaps I'll share about his magical oracle cards and how they were the only set of oracle cards, well, one of two actually, that I took with me to Guatemala when I was traveling through Central America, going through my awakening process. So it is, here they are, absolutely, the angels of Atlantis, super magical, and giving me some incredible guidance as I'd leapt out of my corporate job and I was transitioning into my higher purpose. So I really feel honored to be here with you, Stewart. You know, well, we do meet in the flesh because you were over my house a couple of weeks ago and we had lunch together, which was divine. But I just feel so honored to be connected to you and so honored to be here. So thank you for having me here.
Oh, blessings. And as you speak, I'm reminded of the fact that this afternoon I was in deep conversation, giving a session to Ianla Van Sant, the wonderful high priestess Ianla Van Sant. And you don't know her, but she sends immense love and immense love to everybody. Ianla has actually been on Deep Dialogues twice. Ianla is an African American lady who lives on the Eastern Seaboard, and over the last 15 years has had her own TV program and has been a soul cartographer for many people, literally a huge presence in the African American community. Anyway, she sends great love. I must have her back in. So, you know, a number of people who you see Sarah immediately says, love Ian. However, back to where we were, because it was very extraordinary the way that you moved into your initiation, because Ariella has just suggested, everybody, that she was living and working a high-powered corporate existence. And then you experienced burnout?
Not burnout, I would say. I experienced the soul merge process on my ascension journey. I mean, yes, within, I had been burning out for many years because I wasn't happy in my corporate career. It bought me nice things, but it didn't buy me my soul. It didn't connect me with my soul, you know. And I had that deep, deep longing and those burning questions that so many of us have. You know, what am I really here for, and who am I really? And I was driven, very, very, very driven at this particular stage of my journey. When you say, where did it begin? I would say it began really this chapter at age 36 for me, which is, what is that? About 7 or 8 years ago now. And as you rightly say, at that point, I was in corporate. I'd been in corporate for 16 years. I had all of the trappings of a successful business manager in corporate. I was living the London luxury lifestyle, 5-star hotels, you know, all of that stuff. But as I say, inside there was a soul sickness, and I could not ignore that. But for me, long story, awakening story, because mine is quite an intense awakening story, but I'll try and make it fairly succinct. I went through what I now understand to be the soul merge process, where I was literally embodying more and more light. In fact, my soul consciousness. Now, for me, it manifested as a health crisis. So I literally found myself not being able to walk from one side of my room to another, which I only had a small London flat, so it wasn't far to walk. Laying on the couch, I had terrible digestive, like my digestive system just completely went to pot. And I was down the doctors. I couldn't work. I was very, very ill. The doctors are testing me for everything. They think that I've got either an autoimmune disorder, or they're wondering whether I've got MS. So they're carrying out all of these tests, and it's pretty scary. And in fact, it got very scary, so scary, in fact, that I actually called the ambulance out on myself twice, because I literally thought that I was going to die. I was so ill, and the sensations that I was experiencing were so bizarre and strange for me. One of them was actually my gravity went as part of me being very ill, and I would be lying on the couch, but I would be finding myself, my energy in the couch. So it was very frightening. I'll be honest. I mean, the universe is always kind, because I was sent helpers, I was sent support, I was sent teachers, I was sent guides, but I didn't understand what was going on. And I was having a lot of supernatural experiences as well. So, for example, the lights on my flat are flicking off and on, off and on, off and on. The electrics have gone pretty crazy. Not the first time that had happened. In fact, it happened a few times previously. And these types of phenomena had been happening to me, but I didn't have a context through which to understand them. So I suppressed them. I tried to put it down to my imagination. I hoped that it was my imagination. But what I couldn't ignore was when I woke up one morning and I literally saw 2 6-foot-tall light beings stood in my bedroom as I woke up. And actually, that wasn't frightening. The energy was very, very loving in the room. It did still take me about five hours, maybe a little bit more, to admit to myself that I'd seen them. You know, there was deep denial going on. But it was a very magical time. And the thing that helped me to really open myself up to this new reality that was being revealed to me was my partner, who you've met, dear Ethan, who is, you know, just an incredible rock, has been an incredible rock of support to me. I've understood that we are so-called twin flames. Okay, I don't really go into the labels either, but we have a deep, deep soul connection. He was definitely brought into my life to help me to go through this rite of passage, because I was extremely scared about spirit. I'd been having different types of phenomena happen from a young age, but I'd suppressed it. And I didn't want to look at it.
But from the vantage point of where you are now, because having moved through it, as you review it now, how would you classify the experience?
I would classify the experience as the most intense transition experience I've ever had in my life. And
but
really,
it was a soul merge, you say. So could you perhaps describe what that means for people? Because that may be a new term for a number of people.
Yes.
I mean, for me, you were moving through a vast Kundalini arousal.
It was similar to a Kundalini awakening, and I thought that I'd had that. Later on, I thought, but I don't think I had, actually. I think it was perhaps more of a sort of dark night of the soul type of experience.
Well, that's what happens with the Kundalini arousal. You know,
Arousal,
the
yeah.
surge of energy is so great that our body merges with the universal soul, with the cosmic soul. But then we come crashing back into 3D. And as a result of that, then, of course, all of the phantasms come up, all of the demons come up, all of the shadow comes up. That's when suddenly the world appears to be delusional.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, absolutely. That's a very, very good way, an apt way of describing it to the viewers. For me, the soul merge, I talk about the 7 stages of ascension, and these are, I put it into a linear model, but it's actually a vastly multidimensional model. But for me, the soul merge process happens at the end of stage 3, and the end of stage 3 is a mental plane initiation. So it's when you literally merge in with your soul, right? I mean, your soul consciousness. And we tend to think of our souls often as it just being us, like one of us at personality level and our soul. But of course, we're in this multidimensional universe, so it's much more vast than that. And in fact, what happens is there are many personality extensions. I'm just explaining this to the viewers in case anybody's interested in this. There are many different personality extensions which are assigned to your soul. So it's already a collective consciousness, if you like. And this is the purpose of ascension. The purpose of ascension is for us to all embody our souls, to go through like full soul consciousness. So one of the major stages is when you merge in with your soul. When you merge in with your soul, and it's not always as intense as mine, and sometimes people don't even realize it's happened. Often they don't. But when you merge in with your soul, you can start to access your soul gifts. And your higher purpose, your mission, if you like, starts to come online, which is what was happening for me. My soul had decided, okay, Ariella, you've had enough in corporate, you've got your database of experiences. Now we're going to transfer you into a new reality where you can actually carry out what you've truly come here to do, your soul purpose. But to do that, you need to merge into a greater field of consciousness, and we need to activate your DNA and activate some gifts inside of you so that you can do what you've really come here to do. So that was the process that I went through. I didn't realize that I was an indigo either. Hence why I have really embodied the indigo label, because for me it was such a liberating label to have assigned to me, to understand myself to be an indigo, which is also something that was gifted to me at this time by the universe, this revelation that I was an indigo, because I'd had many traumas and many challenges growing up. And I understand now that that was me trying to ground as a high frequency soul, if you like. Had a lot of anxiety problems, a lot of challenges with my body, connecting with my body, connecting with my emotional bodies. So yeah, learning that I was an indigo was a big moment.
Can you define what you mean by an indigo?
Yeah, sure. So an indigo is a soul whose soul was not originally incarnated on the earth plane. So an indigo, crystal, rainbow, all of these terms, they are higher dimensional beings. They come from different planetary systems, different dimensions. Often they are coming from dimensions, higher dimensions than the earth plane. We are in the third dimension in the earth plane, ascending into the fifth at the moment. But indigos, crystals, and rainbows come from 5D and up. So they are from dimensions, if you like, closer to source. They're from more evolved places, if you like, and they've come here often on service missions in order to raise the consciousness, raise the frequency of the earth plane, so that to help us to step into this new era of love, this new evolved era that we're all moving into now.
Yeah, I'm an indigo as well. So we're here to upset. We're here to upset the patriarchy. If anybody relate to any of this, one of the first great indigos, because it's obviously a wave of consciousness that comes in, as Ariella is saying, from multidimensionality, from the interstellar nature of multidimensionality. And one of the first great personalities that came through was Mozart. And of course, as we know, Mozart wrote a whole different vibration of what music was all about at that time in the Rococo. So a perfect way of describing Mozart is that when he played his fourth symphony to, I believe it was the fourth symphony, to Emperor Joseph, there was a terrible silence at the end, and Emperor Joseph said, "Too many notes." And Mozart said, "And yes, everyone is important." You know, that's a typical indigo response.
Typical indigo. We're pretty stubborn, we're pretty strong-willed.
So we're here to literally shine such a light into the incrustation of the patriarchy that we dismantle the overbearing ego of the patriarchy. So it has to start asking questions about its own effectiveness and whether the system organisms that it loves to control are really effective for us today. And of course, we're all saying no, 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 no. Amazing. How does someone know if they are in indigo or other forms? You are told, this is Robin asking, how do we know? We are told by a divine light. An angel will come and tell you. Now, what will happen is that you'll feel yourself to be an extremist. And so you'll reach out to Ariella or Stewart or someone else who is a recognizable and respectable globe steward, soul steward. And you will say, I'm going through this extraordinary process. And they will say, well, that's because you're an indigo or whatever. So thanks for that.
I've actually got, just on that point, Stuart, I'll see if I can find it, but I've actually got this really good little quiz, and there's 11 questions on how to determine if you're an indigo or not.
Oh, here we are. We go for it. So, Robin, you'll be able to classify yourself if you want to.
I've just found it here. So this is what I'd love your viewers to do. I'm going to go through these are common traits that I call them the new humans have. So you'd have heard probably of terms like indigos, crystals, rainbow. Okay, so I'm going to put them all together and call them the new humans. So see what you think, and I'd love the viewers just to fill into these questions, tune into these, I think there's 11 questions, and then see how many you resonate with. and then just put in the chat how many of these you actually resonate with. Here we go. So 11 signs that you're one of the new humans. Number 1, you are a leader who does not discriminate based on race, color, age, background, or gender. I call this class X, right? You get on with everybody. You're a global citizen. Number 2, you're strong-willed, fiery, a non-conformist, have high integrity, and want to change the world. Particularly if you're an indigo, you'll be fiery. If you're a crystal and a rainbow, less. Number 3, you're highly intuitive and have spiritual gifts like clairvoyance or telepathy. Number 4, you've had some supernatural, mystical, or paranormal experiences in your life. Number 5, you're always thinking about super philosophical stuff that no one understands. Hello, Deep Dialogues. Hello, Stewart Pearce. Great to be here connecting with you. Number 6, you're great at reading people and can tell if they're being real with you. In other words, you've got a BS barometer that stretches probably the size of our galaxy. Number 7, you have a strong connection with nature and animals. Number 8, you struggled with anxiety or depression or addictions and have existential angst. That's what I was suffering with. It wasn't all this other stuff. I had existential angst. Number 9, you're sensitive to everything: lights, noises, crowds, EMFs, gluten, sugar, chemicals, the lot. Number 10, you're drawn to spirituality over religion. And number 11, you just know that you are an old soul. So I'd love you guys to put in the chat how many of these you relate to. Stuart, out of 11, are you a 12?
Oh, all of them, all of them, all of them.
Of course.
and number 12 being, do you believe that you're an interstellar being? Yes.
Oh, I love this.
So yeah, you see, look, 999, both Sean and Robin 11. Okay, wonderful.
My friend Jasmine Grace Sahara is here. Hello, Jasmine. Lovely to see you. She was over at the weekend as well.
10, Elarina, every one of them. Yes.
Yolanda's a 12 as well, Stuart.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wonderful. What's this, Sarah? Yug. What's that? Cheryl, all 11. Yeah. Carol, all 11. You see? Okay, well, so there's the classification, everybody. So let's get back to the wonder of what Ariella was. I wanted to talk about the absolute essence of her work, do you see? So that you get a real, very powerful impact that indents the nature of your kinesthesia, so you feel her power, because she's very extraordinary in this world at this time. So, Ariella, please carry on.
With my work.
Yes, I mean, the way that you developed, specifically over the last 5 years, into the supernatural abundance coach and so forth and so forth.
Yes, after the incredible rebirth. Yeah. Well, I think rebirth is a good place to start here. And I'm in my 3 year at the moment. I'm very much into sacred numerology. I work with an incredible ancient Hebrew system, which decodes your soul purpose. I also love Pythagorean numerology. But I'm in my 3 year. It's all about soul expansion. I'm learning a lot about myself, and I'm learning that I didn't know as much as I thought I did, which is perfect. But what I've learned, one of the main things that I've learned about myself this year is, in a nutshell, what my main gift and what I'm here to do is to really help rebirth people into their true selves, their highest version of themselves. So I have been, for the past 5 years now, maybe a bit longer, I was in a caravan, a trailer, you guys, in the States. After I left corporate, I was in a caravan, a trailer, for 2.5 years by choice, because I wanted to go through my rebirth and I didn't want to go back to corporate. So I made things light. But since then, I have been downloading many different processes and ways of working with people to help them to evolve and help them to transform and be rebirthed into their higher self. So one of the things that I do is I work with people, illuminating their journeys, helping them to understand who they are at a deep level and helping them to align with the highest versions of themselves. I work with this incredible Hebrew system. As I say, perhaps I'll show you an example of it in a few moments. But I work with names. Okay, I work with names. So it was very much a big piece on my journey of when I went through that awakening that I shared with you earlier, of the universe really asking me to step into a new identity, and by stepping into a new identity to actually have a new name. And the new name was very magically downloaded to me. And I believe that our names are so important to us from a coding, from a blueprint point of view, because if you think about it, your name is one of our unique identifiers. Your name, your date of birth, your time of birth, it's really where how we are coded in the matrix and how we are identified in the matrix. So the saying, if you change your name, you change your game, is true. It's absolutely true. And in fact, when you change your name, you bring in a new set of frequencies, a new set of blueprints, a new blueprint, in order for you to step into another evolution, to step into a new life and to access gifts. So I read names and I change names. That's one of the big things that I do. And I've built different programs and different courses all around doing that. And that's a quantum hack, if you like, in terms of quantum leaping people's evolution. Yes, you can do and should do all of the inner work. Like, we need to take personal responsibility to evolve as well. So inner work is so important. But you can also change your name, right? And it quantum leaps you and helps you to access things that you haven't been able to access before, and helps you to transmute some of the challenges, some of the shadow that you have been struggling to do on your own.
And so, may I just quickly interject?
Yeah.
There's a sort of overarching identity that I'd love to bring in, because I feel what you're sharing with us right now is absolutely crucial. The hundreds and hundreds of people are coming to me are actually in the crux of what you're describing to us all, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So for me, it's so opportune that you see everybody, and let's see what Ariella says, and because I don't think we have had lots of conversations, she and I, but I don't think we've quite got to this point of identity. That I believe that what Ariella is talking about is that she is fundamentally moving away from the belief system around what am I, into a soul merge that encourages a conversation of who am I?
Yeah.
Which is a wholly different ball game, so to speak, where we coalesce with the nature of our divine blueprint. The what am I is born of the patriarchal construct, where we're conditioned by education, socialization process, and all the emotional conditionings that we go through. Whereas who am I is actually claiming our own sovereignty within our divine blueprint. So I feel that that's what she's described. Would you agree? That's what you're
Absolutely.
describing.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. We are here to fully express our divinity through our blueprints. Yeah. So therefore, it's highly important that we know what our blueprint is and that we live it to the fullest. You know, we become in divine alignment to it.
And so you were speaking about the importance of numerological name change, because by numerological name change, the name, the vibration of the name is the vibration of the soul merge into divine blueprint. And as a result of that, we literally give birth to ourselves.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. It's a new name is often a key piece on people, on initiates journeys. And it will be a sacred download normally that you will get from your soul or a practitioner suddenly will be connected to you and will suggest that you change your name, as happened to me, and you will just know, you will have that instant knowing inside of you that now is the time to change your name. And it's a very magical alchemical process. And it really does come to us at a time when we are truly, truly ready for it. So as I say, I've set up a lot of courses, a lot of programs around this Hebrew system, helping people to discover their soul blueprint, align with their gifts, their higher purpose. For some people, they do change their names as well, choose to change their name. And then the other big aspect of what I do, and this came in maybe 3 years ago now, because I was resistant to it, first of all. I was in business for 16 years. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I've had very good training with all of that. And when I went through my spiritual awakening, I turned my back on it for a long time. And in fact, I turned my back on money and thought that it was low vibe and I didn't want to have anything to do with business again. But I fell back in love with enlightened business as a conduit to be able to get my purpose out in the world. And I reintegrated that aspect of myself, and I saw not only in myself but also in the community that I was serving what a missing piece this was for so many amazingly talented people in the spiritual community who have these huge hearts to serve and really incredible gifts and high consciousness, but who weren't able to create the type of impact that they wanted to because they didn't have the new paradigm business structures in place. So I'm also helping people with that, and really helping people to access and activate their higher abundance and fall back in love with money, but from a high frequency perspective, because of the many opportunities that it can bring, not only in our own lives, but also in the lives of everybody that we touch when we ourselves are in abundance.
I'd love to ask a question. Bearing in mind that when we move into total spirit initiation and the soul merger begins to happen, we give up the chattels, the goods and the chattels of the world, and often they're devalued in the experience of moving into something which is infinitely more quintessential, infinitely more consequential, and which of course touches us on every single level of our being. So it's not just a mental process, it's an emotional process, it's a deep somatic process, a physiological process. But then we begin to realize, wait a minute, I'm living in a world that is governed by a series of principles and a series of systems. I may not believe in the ideology, but I do need money to get around, because if we see that money is an agent for mobility, then it ceases to have the filthy lucre status that so many people cast it into. So may I ask, the three things that you use, the three mighty prongs of your wand that you use to excite, stimulate, and elicit people into becoming their own abundant high priestesses?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think a big driver for many people, as it was for me, is impact. Yeah, it's impact of your purpose. I think all of us know, a lot of people in the spiritual community probably have been used to going to a lot of spiritual circles where, quite honestly, a lot of the spiritual community is in breakdown from a financial perspective, from a material perspective. It is unintegrated with the physical realm. Health is often very bad. Relationships can be very bad. Finances can be very bad. And because all of this, it's really stopping people from serving and from impacting in the way that they know that they could.
Yeah.
So that is something that I definitely speak about a lot and feel very passionately called to reform, particularly in the spiritual community, actually, because I think we could be doing more, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think we could be impacting at a much greater level and being taken a lot more seriously than we sometimes are.
Yes, it's interesting. The values get confused, don't they, between abundance consciousness and scarcity consciousness.
Yes.
And the difference between the material and the immaterial worlds, the corporeal and the non-corporeal worlds, that often the relinquishing of the material or the corporeal world into the world of spirit often means that we diminish the values that have been created. And when we look into all of the ancient systems of sacred hierarchy, and I use the word hierarchy judicially, hierarchy really means the rule of the sacred. And so when we go into deep Egypt, for example, into ancient Kemetic magic, we discover sacred commerce and the fact that the goddess Hathor had merchant priests.
Yes.
And so it was a fundamental part of the way that their sacerdotal, their spiritual or sacramental process of living was as priests and priestesses, and that there was nothing shameworthy about having money, but indeed the system of evaluation was normally through something that we call barter, which they call something completely different, but the nearest acronym to it synonym to it is barter,
Yes.
So number one is all about the impact of purpose. Number two.
Well, number two, and I think to explain this, what I'd like to do is probably look at your profile, Stuart, if that's okay, and share it with the viewers on the screen, because it will help to illuminate this next point. So the system, here it is. Lovely. Thank you so much. So here is Stuart's profile on the screen, and most of your profiles, you can download it for free on my website. It's ariellaindigo.com. You can download it for free, and my ebook. Most of your profiles will look like this. It's a Star of David. Yeah, so downwards pointing triangle, upwards pointing triangle. The downwards pointing triangle is your earlier life coding or your earlier life experiences. Upwards pointing triangle is your later life coding, your later life experiences, normally where the coding for your higher purpose sits in there. And then right in the middle there, you've got your soul destiny coding, which is like the ultimate reason for your life. It's where you're always heading. These codes are with you right from birth. They will be with you until you leave the physical plane. And the idea is that you fully embody that coding. For those of you who have what's considered to be a short name, this is a Hebrew system, an ancient Hebrew system, then it will just look like a triangle, okay? Neither is better or worse. It's what your soul has chosen. If you do just have a triangle, then the coding duplicates. In other words, it's the same for your earlier life as it is for your later life. You don't have any coding in the middle, but the coding at the top is the same as soul destiny. So in this system, there are 22 what I call creation codes. Now, these 22 creation codes are actually Hebrew fire letters. So many of us will understand that Hebrew is a sacred language of light. It's a creative language. And many people, including myself, believe that it was this language that actually materially created the world. It comes from a very ancient text. This system is derived from an ancient text called the Sefer Yetzirah. The Sefer Yetzirah, many of you may have heard of the Sefer Yetzirah. It's a Jewish text. It is the earliest Jewish text that exists, and it talks about a creation theory, and it talks about the 22 Hebrew fire letters being when God sounded them, being that they put incredible creative forces into play, and so it made up our entire material reality. The codes are encoded into our DNA. So this system and this profile can tell us a huge amount about ourselves. It can tell us what our gifts are, what our higher purpose is, what our soul destiny is, what the challenges are that we've chosen to transform into our greatest gifts. But there's one code in particular, and Stewart has 3 of them. When I looked at this beforehand, I was like, wow, that was a good choice, Stewart, at soul level, to give yourself 3 4s, okay? Because 4, you can see Stewart has got a 4-4 here in the downwards pointing triangle, physical talents. He's also got a 22-4 in spiritual talents. So his earlier life talents are very similar to his later life talents, apart from he has 22 4s who are also the master teachers, the very complete teachers, very multidimensional and very highly evolved souls here to really teach from a very complete place. But the 4s are the multimillionaire codes. Okay, it's the abundance codes. So something for me that really shifted when I understood creation code number 4 is when you understand it, you start to realize that money comes from the same consciousness stream as love. Money comes from the same consciousness stream as unconditional divine love. Right. So that was like something that started to get me rewiring, you know, my relationship with money. You know, in other words, you know, the universe only wants us to, the universe only wants to experience love. It only wants us to experience abundance. In fact, love and abundance is all that there really is in truth. Everything else is illusion. So something else that I learned through creation code number 4 is that we have to appreciate money in order for money to appreciate. So when I turned my back on money and I left corporate and I was in the caravan, I thought I was being very, very spiritual because, you know, money was not my main goal. Money was not a driver for me. I ended up practically bankrupt, living in this bankrupt state. I couldn't attract money because I wasn't appreciating it. You know, so that has been something that I've needed to learn about, to reteach myself. You know, often now, literally just being in a bed for me, and Stewart knows because he was here a couple of weeks ago for lunch. I'm so lucky, I'm so fortunate enough that I've just moved into this beautiful, beautiful cottage in my journey, and you know, beautiful thatched cottage. It's a 17th century thatched cottage. I've got abundance all around me these days, but it wasn't that way a few years ago. But part of the reason that I've been able to manifest this abundance is because many times do I lie in my bed feeling how lucky I am to have a bed to lie in, because I didn't when I was in the caravan, or I didn't have a very comfortable one for 2.5 years. Yeah, so really appreciating and being grateful, and all of these things that you've heard from many spiritual teachers for many years, gratitude, you know, gratitude and appreciation being one of the key primary routes into attracting abundance is true, as is generosity. Generously sharing, not just money, but time, energy, you know, resources, teachings, all of these things. It's a frequency. It's a frequency, and it's a very attracting frequency, and it's a duplicating frequency. Creation code number 4 duplicates. You know, abundance attracts abundance, or abundance creates abundance. Generosity, you know, it is part of the major thing that will start creating abundance for you. So it was really when I learned the values, you know, the spiritual values behind money, that I was able to really appreciate it again, and to, you know, to claim it for myself, and then to teach other people to claim it. So the 3 things: impact, I would say impact, I would say definitely generosity, and I would say appreciating. I would say that money is love, and appreciating money. There you go. There's 4.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. But in this moment, I'm reminded of all of the Hermetic and Pythagorean work that I did earlier on in my beginning career, you know, as a healer. I suppose I'm going back now 40 years ago, and I was drawn to the nature of the word luxury. And how luxury, of course, as we know, is that extension of abundance. Because if we have abundance, why not live in luxury? and that luxury is purely derived from the Latin word lux, which means light.
Ah, lovely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're really, when we talk about being surrounded by luxury, and of course, I'm not talking about the superficiality of luxury. You know, if we, for example, go into any of the major stores in on Fifth Avenue, or indeed in Knightsbridge in London, that we see a surfeit of energy where people with a lot of money that don't value it are just
Yes.
grabbing goods. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about all of these qualities that Ariella was really mentioning, that it starts off with love, with
Yes.
the highest vibration, and it becomes gratitude and appreciation. I feel that forgiveness is part of that, you know, that if we
Yes.
forgive, we are full of abundance. But if we are mean-spirited and we hold revenge within our hearts, or the need to avenge ourselves, it closes our hearts off. And as a
Yeah.
result of that, we become immensely scarce in the way that we appreciate love or give love. You know, we see it purely as being a monodimensional affair. You know, if I love you, you're going to love me in return, which is absurd. Anyway, so moving into all of the varying striations of what abundance is. This is extraordinary. It is absolutely beautiful. But we didn't finish my chart.
Yes, let's have another look.
Because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, yes, but what does that mean? Could you take us through each triangle? Because what's fascinating is that it's the six-pointed Star of Mary as well as being the Star of David.
Well, it's a two-dimensional Merkaba. So from this point of view, it's, you know, the Merkaba is your blueprint. But yes, let's have a road trip around Stewart's amazing profile. So look, the first thing that I will say is, when you guys download your profile, you definitely want to primarily look up your birth certificate name. So exactly as it was written on your birth certificate. Your other names that you've used, so in Stewart's case, his birth name is Stewart John Pearce, but obviously we all know him just as Stewart Pearce. And most of the time it's that middle name which is dropped. Your other names are also very relevant and they act as overlays, but your birth name is your primary base layer blueprint. Okay, your other names add different energies and frequencies. And I said to Stewart beforehand, oh my God, I can't believe that you haven't got sevens. And then I looked at Stewart Pearce and he's got a dominant vibration of sevens, which makes a lot of sense because the sevens are incredible speakers, highly charismatic, often are famous. They are the divine connectors, so magnetic, such incredible presences, all the things that we know and love so much about Stewart. So he has a ton of those coming in. But let's have a look at his birth name here. So starting off with the downwards pointing triangle, his earlier life, you've got physical challenges over here, top right-hand corner, and you can see it's an 11-2. An 11-2. So physical challenges, you could see this also as karma, right? Karma that we have brought in to clear. Your challenge is your greatest gifts in this system. So the 11-2s, well, Stewart, there is a reason, and I see it here in your profile, while you and technology are not always best of friends, my dear, okay? And it is this 11-2. The 11-2s can be challenged by systems, structure. They can often, they really don't have a good time with IT. I know that you blow up yours and the frequencies get very, very high. But there is also just there was particularly when you were younger, very much a misalignment with system structures. There can be, and this is interesting because of knowing what you shared with Janet the other day when we had our lovely luncheon together, there can be learning challenges at school with the 11-2s because they can be challenged around absorbing information. Now, Stewart, as we know, highly intelligent. So it was not about intelligence. You were actually probably quite kinesthetic yourself, were you not? Or are you not? And needed that movement as well.
I mean, you know, that's the way that the empathic nature of my being functions, purely kinesthetically. Yeah. I mean, hypersentience.
Yes.
But also, you see, as a child, which I still do, but I switch on and switch off, is that I saw the whole thing. I mean, I saw the multidimensional universe. I saw the force.
Yes.
So systems, being educated through systems, whether it be simple reading tasks or numerical tasks within math, they were just incommodious. They felt awkward, they felt clunky, whereas all of the stuff that I was seeing was all about flow, not
Yeah.
boom, 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 which is what systems were doing. It was just all about pure flow. And that's how I learned to read. I learned to read through song, i.e. through flow. As a church chorister, at the age of, what was it, 12 or something, I learned to read. So yes, so 11-2 makes a lot of sense.
The 11-2.
And then I know our time is marching on. We've only got about 8 minutes left. So 20, and then we go into the spiritual challenges.
The
just
22s, because you've got two of them. These are the intrepid explorers. Okay, so they love traveling on the inner planes and on the outer planes. So this is why you've gone to India, you traveled extensively, you love going into all these different cultures, you love learning about spirituality, but you love, that's how you learn, you know, is by being somewhere. And you know, all of your incredible escapades to Egypt and that vast knowledge that you have, it would have been this 22 intrepid explorer. 15-6, we'll end on this because I know that time is short now, but the 15-6ers, these are, in essence, you are a teacher of universal law. Okay, universal law. The 15-6ers merging with their soul, bringing through huge soul creativity, really amazing at being able to teach others about, you know, the laws of the universe, creation, and all of these things. So here we have you, deep dialogues, doing absolutely this.
Thank you, darling. That's wonderful. Well, hopefully that illuminates the conviction of all of you wonderful people tuning in. Erica, Celestial, Nadina. Celestial's written several things. When using name on birth certificate, if someone was adopted and knows birth name, it doesn't quite make sense. Is birth name or official birth certificate name? Well, we're talking about your birth name, aren't we? The birth name that was...
It's the birth name. If somebody was adopted, okay, and the name was changed, if the adoption happened within the first 5 to 6 weeks of the baby being born, then you would use the adopted name. If not, you would still use the birth certificate name. The adopted name is still relevant, but remember, it acts as an overlay. It's not the base blueprint like the birth name is, but always use the birth name fully as it is on the birth certificate, and look at that first of all.
Brilliant, brilliant. So while Ariella and I sort of wind our wonderful conversation down, because we've got about 5 more minutes, please do ask any questions. Yeah, thank you, Robin. Yes, she's brilliant, isn't she? Do ask any questions about your spiritual destiny, not just getting fixated in names, because I think a lot of you immediately start becoming involved in the technical aspect of, do I mention this name or that name? And actually, you know, Ariella has covered it so beautifully. Yes, Sarah, not quite sure why you keep writing odd things like Nadine had add middle name. I'm sorry, I don't know what this means. Sean, thank you both. That's beautiful, darling. Thank you for coming along. Thank you. Okay, so
I can see a question here from Robin. Robin, is there a difference between the ancient Hebrew system, it's further up, and the Western form of numerology?
Yeah, I saw that as well. I thought we'd explained it quite well.
So very quickly, the ancient form of the Hebrew system, yes, there is a difference. So Western form of numerology is normally Pythagorean numerology. And that does work off your name, but also your birth names as well. The Hebrew system, yes, it's underpinned by the Zephyr Yetzirah, but it's really the sound. It's working on the phonetic sound of the Hebrew language, the sound of the name once it's converted into the Hebrew language. being the numerology or the sacred sounds that are creating your reality. Yeah, so it's quite a different, it's a very different system and very different calculation. I love both. I'm a numerology
Well,
nut.
in truth, the Pythagorean numerology is based purely on frequency or vibration, which starts off with either light or sound, meaning light, color, sound, downloads. Hence the idea of the Gnostics translating the Aramaic from "in the beginning was the word," whereas actually the word in Greek means logos, in the Pythagorean terminology means logos. And logos is the word that's used for the intelligibility of the sound, that the sound comes first and then we shape it through, I mean, for example, we're making sense as we speak this English language. But if I sat here and said, nobody would know what I'm talking about. But I'm doing the same thing. It's just that I'm speaking in Syrian. I mean by that. Nobody would understand. But it's all, it's just a mixture of what we call vowels and consonants. Vowels are all free emitted passages of sound, and consonants are always stopped. B, d, g, z, j, j, boom. Ow, a, e, o. Well, so vowels are often commonly associated with emotions, and consonants with intellect. Anyway, wow, we've come to a close. It's gone so fast. What's the website where I can get this chart? AriellaIndigo.com. And don't worry, you will be able to listen very quickly to the whole of this splendid conversation, this deep, deep, deep dialogue. Oh, Sadie. Hi, Sadie, coming in. Dear Sadie, Sadie is living not far from where Ariella is. Maybe, I know Sadie's been going through some really heavy shit recently, so maybe, forgive me for saying that if that's sensitive, but I've been reading all of your Facebook messages. Maybe reach out to Ariella as a Sadie was an acting student of mine at one of the schools that I taught at, one of the conservatoire, and she's a beautiful fairy in disguise. She's wonderful. Anyway. Gosh, we're coming to a close. Is there any... Oh, yes. Please tell everybody about this extraordinary summit that you've created for September.
Yes. Well, it's a festival. It's an online festival. It's called the Rebirth Festival. It's a 3-day festival, which is between the 16th and the 18th of September. It's going to be an incredible opportunity to learn from 13 master teachers, including Stewart, because he is one of them, all about the topic of rebirthing and really evolving into your higher self. It's also, and I'm so excited to do this, it's a philanthropic event, and we are raising money for the Samaritans charity. So for mental health, essentially, the Samaritans are an incredible charity working primarily here in the UK, helping to reduce suicide rates. They are 24/7 taking calls from people on the phones. And there's been a huge upsurge, obviously, with COVID, as we know. So the target is to raise $25,000 for the Samaritans charity. And we're going to do that by rebirthing ourselves and plugging into some incredible wisdom transmissions from these master teachers. There's a whole abundance of free gifts as well. If you are called to be there, then actually there's a couple of ways. Stuart, are you okay if I just share?
Do please do.
So either if you go to my website, download your profile, you'll be automatically put on my email list, so I can email you about it in the next couple of days, or you could go straight to the website. I'll put the link in the chat here, but it's AriellaJunoIndigo.com/rebirthed-festival. That's AriellaJunoIndigo.com/rebirthed-festival, and I will drop this in
put it up on the screen.
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, perfect.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. So remember those dates, everybody, September 16 through to 18. And Ariella, as usual, has lassoed, corralled some of the most amazing talent from around the world, who are, you know, very specific in their vibration to in appropriation to align with this particular project that she's birthing or rebirthing indeed. So it's a great honor for me to be involved, and we always have great fun whenever we're together doing all. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Ariella, namaste, 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 or as we would say, Elim Omka. And everybody, just stay around, because next week we've got another, actually somebody that I met through Ariella, who is an amazing medium.
Amazing.
Okay, do you see? Amazing medium. So come in next week, because we're going to have great fun. Bless you, Ariella. This has been wonderful. You'll have to come back. We've had such fun.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.